Hello everybody, today's video is about... Hey, it's Future Matthew here. I'm just editing this video and I realized that my microphone wasn't recording. So if the audio sounds bad, I apologize. Hopefully I'll get it figured out by the next video. Alright, so I'll leave you guys to it. Today's video is about reading. Reading is something that I love to do. I think we all know about the importance and the benefits of reading, but for most of us, it doesn't come easy. Every time I talk about reading with people, one of the things that I hear back the most is that they wish that they could read more. And since this is such a common issue, I thought that I'd share the 6 tips and tricks that have allowed me to read more books over the years. Tip number 1 is to start off with a small and attainable goal. What I've come to find is that reading is like exercising. You can't just jump straight in and go as hard as you can. I know that if this is your first time getting into reading or you're getting back into it, you probably have a mountain of books that you want to read as quick as possible. My advice is to not take on that mountain of books right away. Instead, I would advise to start off with a small goal, like maybe 1 or 2 books a month. I know that it can be tempting to go as hard as you can when you first start off, but doing so can lead to burnout and discouragement when you don't meet those goals. For me, starting off with a small and attainable goal was super helpful, and over time I was able to make those goals bigger and bigger. Tip number 2 is to actively set aside time to read. The most common excuse I hear for people not reading is that they say that they just don't have enough time to read. The thing about reading is that it's like exercising or praying. You have to make time to do it. And usually, this can involve making a sacrifice. Maybe it means cutting out screen time or waking up a little bit earlier in the mornings. Now, this can take a lot of discipline, but it is so worth it in the end. Now, something that has been really helpful for me in setting aside time to read is having a set reading time each day. For me, this is usually 30 minutes after I wake up. Most mornings I wake up, I go make a cup of coffee, then I sit and I read my book. I found that having a set reading time each day has made it a lot easier to read because I've made it part of my daily routine. I've made it a habit. And if you could figure out how to make this a habit, it will be super helpful. Tip number 3 is to read more than 1 book at a time. What most people tend to do when they first start getting into reading is that they read just 1 book at a time. But this actually isn't that great. Reading just 1 book at a time can cause you to grow tired of reading that book, and that could cause some serious burnout. And if you burn out with reading that 1 book, it's going to make it very difficult to finish. Reading multiple books at a time can cut out that burnout because if you grow tired of 1 book, you can just switch off to the other. This switch off can be very refreshing and it will do wonders for your reading journey. Tip number 4 is don't feel obligated to finish a book that you don't like. Some people in the reading community have a completionist mindset, meaning that they try to finish every single book that they start. And if it works for them, that's fine. Who am I to judge? But what I've come to find is that it doesn't work for most people. Yes, reading does take effort and it takes discipline and it could be hard, but at the end of the day, it's still meant to be enjoyable. If you're reading a book and you really just can't get into it, trying to power through can lead to some serious burnout. And as I said before, if you're feeling burnt out, it's going to make reading very difficult. So my advice is, if you're reading a book and you find yourself having to power through it and it feels like a chore, just put it down and switch to another book. It's okay, you're not breaking any rules by doing that. Tip number 5 is create an environment that is conducive to reading. Making a nice, comfortable spot where you can just sit and focus on your book can work wonders in your reading journey. My spot is my recliner in the living room. I found that every time I sit down and I get really comfortable, it makes focusing on my book a lot easier. The key is to make sure that your spot is comfortable and make sure that you don't have a lot of distractions. If you're like me and you struggle with scrolling on your phone, I recommend locking your phone in another room so you don't have the temptation. For me, not having the option to just scroll on my phone makes reading a lot easier. The final tip is to join a community of other readers. Now, this can mean going to the library and joining a book club, or it could mean finding an online community. The key is not trying to do this alone. The thing about reading is that it is hard and it takes effort. I've found that if you're a part of a community that supports you, it can make all the difference in the world. If you ever find yourself struggling, or if you ever have a question, you can just go to your community and they will help you get through it. A healthy community will help you through your struggles and celebrate your victories. And this support can make all the difference in the world in your reading journey. So to close out, those are the 6 tips that have helped me over the years. I found that as I integrated each tip into my routine, the routine became easier and I was able to enjoy myself a lot more while reading. And if you can make reading more enjoyable, you're going to make it easier. And that will allow you not only to read more books, but to get more out of the books that you're reading. So you've heard my thoughts. I want to hear yours. Do you have any other tips that have helped you read more books? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you have a great day.